Who are the top 10 greatest Enlightenment thinkers? I'm not just going to stream of conscious the Enlightenment, am I? There's a lot of authors out there that I have not come across, and so if you know somebody that's like, oh my God, I still read, Helvetius. If you're still, a huge Helvetius Enlightenment fan, then Helvetius wrote On Mind. You've got Quesnay, Renaud, Turgot, Lambert. Renaud was an abolitionist. You had Buffon, Gibbon, Herder, Holbach, Spinoza, Huygens. Spinoza wrote Ethics. Huygens wrote Treatise on Light. Thomas Act wrote On Dying for One's Nation. On the Law of War and Peace was written by Comenius. Comenius was anti-war because he was against the 30 Years' War. Now, there's a ton of Enlightenment thinkers. Those, I guess, would be more of your lesser knowns, right? So I'll read them again because they're a part of the canon. When I think of the Enlightenment, it comes after the Renaissance. It's the 1700s. And it's the 1700s. Basically, when I think of the Enlightenment, that's the foundation for where we should begin our conversation with the world. The Enlightenment. There's the Dark Ages, and then there's the Enlightenment. And it's based upon scientific principles. Essentially, that's all we got. Logic, reason. I mean, logic is reason. So all we got is logic. That's all we got. That's all we got is science. Logic. We can't throw away the only things we got. So when I think about all there's a lot of great people. There's Montesquieu. There's Voltaire. There's Diderot. Actually, Voltaire is just a lot of hype. I'm sure back in his day when he was sitting there, attacking the Catholic Church, and he was big about the separation of church and state. But that idea came out of Roger Williams in the 1600s. Roger Williams was an American. Another thing that's kind of shocking, so let's see, there's other ones, right? You got Descartes, Francis Bacon, John Locke, Rousseau, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Immanuel Kant, Adam Smith, Thomas Paine, David Hume, John Stuart Mill. But with Antoine Levasseur, so you had Americans. So being an American, right, they're the American revolutionaries, but they were also part of the Enlightenment also. And they're also, scholars of the Enlightenment, and they had applied some of these other bastards. I mean, John Locke was a fucking racist. He owned stock in some slave trading company, so he's part of the triangular African trade. So John Locke, again, this is, he's like a Voltaire, okay, separation of church and state. Yeah, we need a wall between church and state. Good job, Voltaire, but Jefferson said we needed the wall, or somebody said we needed a wall. There's a wall I support. That's a wall I support. Voltaire wrote Candide, some satire. But Roger Williams said come up with, separation of church and state. So I feel like a lot of these guys, they're, I'm sure they're great guys, but because they were the first one to come up with the idea, or they popularized the idea. When I think of Montesquieu, I think of the three branches of government. The colonists in America were referencing Montesquieu and his Spirit of Laws. Montesquieu wrote a book called The Spirit of Laws, and the colonists all were, quoting them as if they were, Montesquieu scholars. So Montesquieu said we need an executive, legislative, and a judicial branch. And all governments in the entire world have executive, legislative, judicial branch. That is not, by accident that there's a logical procession. Anyways, Montesquieu is a badass, right? You cannot... So Montesquieu, I don't know, I think he was a judge, some French judge, but he wrote the Spirit of Laws that the colonists listened to, and then they wrote the Constitution, the Declaration, Constitution, they did all that shit, right? So Montesquieu was very much integral for today's society. He was, the three branches of government comes from Montesquieu. And so that's absolutely, you need them. So when I think about the Americans, I guess, you got, George Washington, and there's Thomas Jefferson was a good writer, John Adams was a good writer, and you had, Ben Franklin, but there's also, you had Madison and Hamilton, a lot of these guys that, are called the founders that I don't venerate them as much as everybody else does. And so, yeah, Ben Franklin, but there's, we have a handful that deserves to be part of the pantheon of the Enlightenment thinkers. And so I'm going to go ahead and just tell you who I think are the top 10. I'll do the first 5, okay? So I got a top 10 list of the best Enlightenment thinkers. Top 10, we need to, we need to make sure we remember this. This is the foundation. This is where we begin. This is when we first saw light, right? We came out of darkness and we saw light. Hey, knowledge, science, logic. Oh my God, we can figure this shit out. We don't have to just listen to some asshole who's been lying to us for millennia. Number 10, Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes is actually important because he fills the other half of the conversation of the state of nature. The state of nature, is man born good or is he born evil? Thomas Hobbes says, well, man's born evil. That's why you need a Leviathan, a sea serpent, to attack. You need a strong government to smash everybody else into subservient because they're evil. And so you've got to have a strong government to put everybody in their place. Thomas Hobbes said that. A war against all. Man, the state of nature of man, you just descend into, then it's just everybody against everybody, a war against all, and it's cold, lonely, brutish, short. Thomas Hobbes, you made the list. You made the cut. Get on in there. Thomas Jefferson, number 9. Thomas Jefferson's fantastic. What he said about Shays' Rebellion, the tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Fuck Thomas Jefferson. They didn't let you write the Constitution, so you're pretty pissed off. You bastard, you stuck me in France. Now I gotta... Thomas Jefferson's a badass. He said all men are created equal, so even though he was a fucking slave-owning piece of shit, if he wasn't a slave-owning piece of shit, John Adams went so much farther up the list because of that. John Adams, I hated John Adams because of the Alien and Sedition Acts, but Thomas Jefferson really, he really shit the bed with that whole slavery thing. But Thomas Jefferson had a whole bunch of, very quotable things, and so he set the foundation for which eventually slavery, the abolition movement was successful. And so, Thomas Jefferson, number 9. You also have Rene Descartes. I think, therefore, I am. You cannot forget about Rene Descartes. So I guess I was just saying John Adams, and then number 7, John Adams, and then number 6, Adam Smith. When it comes to capitalism, money, markets, the free market, Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations. John Adams, let's just read some quotes. He's got a ton of great quotes. John Adams quotes, everybody. Public business, my son, must always be done by somebody. It will be done by somebody or other. If wise men decline it, others will not. If honest men refuse it, others will not. So John Adams says you need honest, wise men who do, who get into the civic republic government. You got to be active. You got to be active. Now, Machiavelli is number 5. I'm just going to mention that because he had actually said that perhaps civic republicanism and Christianity are opposed to each other because Christianity is docile, whereas civic republicanism requires you to participate. And Machiavelli was back in the 1500s. So this is the foundation. I think the Enlightenment is the foundation. The Renaissance is an important period, but I did consider a lot of the Renaissance thinkers that came beforehand because they were the ones that came beforehand. Isaac Newton, how are you going to, scratch out Isaac Newton? And then you even had Leibniz. Leibniz, I guess apparently Isaac Newton and Leibniz, they both claim to have invented calculus, but I think Leibniz might have been right, and Leibniz got some interesting thoughts. Immanuel Kant actually has some interesting thoughts too. He's the one that wrote What is Enlightenment? What is enlightenment? Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed knowledge. It's proprioception. We got 17 senses. We're able to be aware of ourselves. Knowledge is the inability to use one's own understanding without another's guidance. This knowledge is self-imposed if its cause lies not in the lack of understanding, but in indecision and lack of courage to use one's own mind without another's guidance. Dare to know, have the courage to use your own understanding is therefore the motto of the Enlightenment. There you go, Immanuel Kant. I never got into Immanuel Kant, but never read What is Enlightenment, so we will see after that. But Grotius, Beccaria, who are you people? Who are you people? Dennis Diderot had that fantastic quote, and actually he wrote the encyclopedia, but the quote about Voltaire where he says, Voltaire, some people just teach history, just so we learn facts and names and dates, this happened and that happened, and it's supposed to mean something or shit. But Voltaire, the way that Voltaire taught is that he'll get you, he'll be very passionate, and this is, actually a very good compliment of Voltaire. But he says that Voltaire makes you passionate. He teaches history to make you hate liars and superstition and tyranny. Lies, superstition, tyranny, ignorance, and hypocrisy. Let's repeat those again. Voltaire, the way he teaches, some people just teach history just to teach names, dates, and facts. But the way that Voltaire teaches history is that he teaches you to hate superstition, tyranny, lies, ignorance, and hypocrisy. A hypocrite, a motherfucker that'll tell you, do this or do that when they don't even do it. That's a hypocrite. A liar, ignorance, tyranny, superstitious. So Voltaire teaches you to hate those things, and then after you actually forget the names and the dates, but the anger remains. So you will always hate superstition, ignorance, lies, tyranny, hypocrisy. And so that's just a fantastic quote. I think it's awesome. I think that's how you should teach teach our history. Hell, let's see where we at. Okay. 12 minutes. Is this interesting to anybody? I think I'm just going to kind of close this off with, I guess it's going to be a cliffhanger, huh? You only know the top 6 of the 10, right? So Thomas Hobbes, Thomas Jefferson, Rene Descartes, John Adams, Adam Smith, Machiavelli, and who are the top 4 Enlightenment thinkers? I've already mentioned 2 of them, but I haven't mentioned the top 2. So if you want to find out the top 2, you got to go to the next video. Peace.